Hi everybody. Story time today, and my wife is getting me my beverage, so I'll see you guys in just a second. I have to clean out my truck, and while I'm doing that, I'm gonna tell you a story. I need to refill this beverage. Bye, babe. Bye, puppy. All right. Yep, same grape soda stuff, electrolytes. Oh, look at that motor. It's pretty cool. Can't wait to start this thing. Have gas, but not really. Lava lamp. Oh yeah. Okay. So story time. Let me get my tools. So this is story time. I'm going to insert a picture here of a car. It is a black 69 last year of the Corvair. And why is this story time have to do with the Corvair? It really doesn't have anything to do with the Corvair. It has to do with, I don't know about you guys, when you're gearheads, some of you gearheads, when you're little kids, maybe it could translate into other stuff when you're kids. It doesn't have to be cars, but for me it was cars, and for a lot of gearheads it's cars. There's always like one vehicle, or maybe a couple of them that make like a huge impression on you when you're young. And this story is about the car that made a huge impression about me. But this Corvair was the car that George, literally the car that George saw when he was young that made a huge impression on him. It's a hopped up Corvair, still has the same wheels on it, the same paint job from the 80s, everything. It was last on the road sometime in like the early 90s, late 80s. It is exactly the same car. And he ended up purchasing it, which I was able to get the car that did the same thing for me at that age, but I was like 35 or 6 when I got it. And George is 50 something, 54 or 5. He got the car that he remembers when he was younger, when he was, now in his 50s. So it's pretty cool. Like a lot of people, like this 57, for instance, I had one that was a drag car that you guys know about, and I'm building a car that is, a lot like it, or a lot like Project X or whatever, the 57s or whatever, and the exhaust is like another 57 that I showed you guys earlier, and all those things. Those cars that make impressions on you. Dan's building, he got his 55 that he built up there in Canada that's, 2-lane blacktop style stuff, and he got the daisies to match the car that made an impression on him. But you can't buy the 2-lane blacktop car unless you're like a bazillionaire and you can pry it out of the guy's hands that has it. But some of us see a car in the neighborhood when we were younger and that was it. Or maybe it's not even cars, maybe it's like, I have no idea what it would be. Maybe I have no idea that you're able to purchase or get the very same thing. So this story is about a car that was the very thing I saw and how it made an impression on me. So as I'm cleaning the stuff out of this car to my truck, which is I work today, look at the mess. There's my surfboard. Oh, it's getting different colors. But look at this. This is all like straps and clamps and stuff like this. I actually have to clean this up. So my story. Back when I was a young, spry, 19-year-old, red blood American male, and I was working at, remember the store I told you guys about, working at the auto parts store, and where like the car parts store and the car girls and the customers coming in and whatever, and all that, the girls that work there. Well, that same store, they actually fired me. Not for anything I did wrong other than being dyslexic, I found out later was the problem, and I was having trouble with numbers and translating numbers. And I was dyslexic, so I'd put them in a different order. So when you're like ringing people out, sorry, there's like sunlight behind me, you end up, messing up a couple receipts or a couple changes, giving people change. And some people aren't honest, and you give them too much change, and, blah, 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 that happens. So what went down was, coming back in, what went down was I got let go, but you'd be surprised, I worked for a couple months, worked for that store for a couple months. And what I did was they would call me and tell me that a customer called them and had a bunch of questions and wanted to know if I'd call them back and help them diagnose their problem. And I said, sure. So I'd call them up, talk to the customer, tell them what went on, and then tell them what parts they needed, tell them what parts would be ready for them, and I would pretend that I worked at the store. And so when the customer would come in to get their parts, they'd come in to talk to me, but I was at lunch or whatever, and you know, they would get their parts. So one day this happened, and look at this mess I got in here. And I was just off the phone with somebody, and the store called again, and somebody had come in there and asked if there was anybody that could work on cars, and that they knew anybody. And of course the people in the store were like, yeah, we know somebody. Oh, the sun's bright. And so they called me up, and I met this guy, Mike, but I'm going to call him Joe because only people I like, I name Mike. Gordon, you know what I'm talking about. And then there's Mike that has his 55 that he put the driveline in, and you know who you are. Anyway, so we're going to call him Joe. So Joe, I went to work for this guy Joe, and he was doing, well, this would be a whole nother story if I talk about that. So remind me to tell you what we were doing. Anyway, in the middle of working with these guys, I met this guy Dale. His name really is Dale. Super cool guy, and he had a Volvo. That's right, kids, a Volvo, a 142, 1970 142 coupe. Super cool. And I was like, Volvo, how neat's a Volvo? You know, it was white and had like those MP wheels on it that were gold centered. You know, this is like 1994, no, 1993. Yeah, so 93, I was 19. So 93, could have been early 94. And he comes rolling in this thing. He wanted me to help him with something, but he was a friend of Joe's. Turn my light on. And this little car had been set up for SCCA racing. It was white, had red interior, this time it had a Muncie 4-speed in it, and it had inside was a Buick 231 Oddfire V6, but it had hogged out heads off of a Grand National. They were really hogged out. It had a gigantic comps cam in it and a big tarantula style Holley Terminator single plane intake manifold, and the carburetor sat kind of weird. I've never seen that intake before or since. Had headers on it, and I think this motor dynoed like 304 or 9 or something horsepower. Like, the thing was stout, and it had 2 chrome tips just like this, but just 2, one on each side, and they pulled all the goofy Volvo marker lights and bumpers off and kind of smoothed it up and did the chrome 68 Chrysler side marker lights. It was really cool. Had a little rake to it, a lot of camber. It had 3 sway bars. One big one in the front, and the rear axle had 456s in the locker, and it had a lower sway bar off 1 year Volvo, and then another upper sway bar off of the original one, I think, was how it went. But it was, the thing would corner like on rails, and it ripped. But I was so awestruck because when he fired this thing up, now you gotta remember, being a young red-blooded American male who was into muscle cars like Chevelles and stuff we talked about earlier, and the bucket list stuff, 6 cylinders just don't play the right music, and 4 cylinders don't play the right music for me. You know, I mean, nothing wrong against them or whatever, but I just can't stand them. I mean, my Toyota's a V8, so it just has to play the right tone, right music. When I turn on the radio, I don't want to listen to, like, you know, hip-hop or whatever. I want to listen to, you know, some good old, like, heavy metal or, you know, some old, like, punk or something like that. Or maybe Chicago. I might want to listen to Chicago, you know. You never know. 25 or 6 to 4. You never know what time it is. But anyway, this thing, he fired it up, and I had never looked under the hood yet, and it sounded like, I mean, it's as choppy as this car is. Like, I think the duration at 50,000 was like 240 something. And I think it was like right at 500 thousandths lift. It was gnarly sounding little sucker, and I thought it was a V8. And he popped the hood, and I just sat there like staring at it, and it made such an impression on me that I wanted that car so badly. And then years later down the road, I mean, he and I stayed friends for a long, long time. And then years later down the road, he didn't want it anymore, and he gave it to me. And it was super cool. And then we were moving out here, and I didn't know what to do with it, and I didn't really want to sell it to anybody. But I ended up selling it to a guy who was a Buick nut back in the middle America somewhere, Midwest, like Wisconsin or something like that, or Minnesota. Oh yeah, you betcha. And I think he took it on Power Tour, Hot Rod Power Tour. I mean, that's what he said he was going to do with it, but man, that thing ripped. It was white. It was gray when I first saw it, and when I got it, it was white. But it had like purple horny, the little like 14-inch long purple horny pipes at the end of, and the chrome tips, the twin pipes up the headers. That thing would rock it. And then I put in, when I had it, I put a T5 in it, so it would have an overdrive. But man, oh man, first gear was like worthless. It would just annihilate the tires, and it was so light, and it would just corner like it was on rails. I might have a picture of it somewhere. I'll see if I can find it. Might have a picture of it sitting in front of our old house in Boise with maybe like my coupe and maybe a Model A pickup or something I had. I'll look and see if there's one there. But yeah, anyway, that's cool. So George ended up with his car, and I ended up with my car. And I'm curious, did any of you guys get, or girls, doesn't matter, did any of you, insert pronoun here, did you guys get, I just dropped a block of wood. How rude of me. I forgot to say, welcome all you new people. Man, this is crazy. There's 400 and some already. I just wanted to, my video got cut off because I'm really bad at editing apparently, and I deleted a file that had the end of that one, which was only like a few minutes. But the gist of it was, what was it you wanted, and the actual thing, and did you ever get it, and how long did it take you to get it, if you got it, or did you make a version of your own or something else of it, you know. That's what I want to know. Details. Give me the details. I like details. But yeah, that's it. Yeah, welcome everybody. Thank you for coming and hanging out. I really appreciate it, and I love the comments. And the Enjoy Your Life said they sent you over to say. It's really cool. I'm pretty stoked. But it's weird. I'll be perfectly honest with you guys, because that seems to be the best policy for me, and since I have a hard time lying, I'm not good at it. The original plan for this channel was definitely geared around cars, but demographic has changed a little bit with the viewer diversity. I've had fun commenting with the comments you guys are making, and commenting back. It's different because, you know, there's all sorts of trains of thought out there, and you know, I'm used to talking with people that have similar interests, and so when I get the opportunity to comment with someone that sees stuff differently, or a different perspective or different interests, it's fun. As a student of psychology, it's interesting. I like to think about people's different ways of thought. But yeah, I'm really excited. Thanks for hanging out. So I don't know what's in store for this channel. I do know this much. This car will be done at some point, done enough for me to drive, and I'll be using it. And I'll be taking you on road trips around the island to the various places I'm going to go work on stuff. I will not be filming what I'm working on. I might take pictures here and there and little snippets in between, but it's just not fair to the people that I'm working on there, because I am doing it for a living, and filming takes me a lot longer to actually do. It slows the process down, if that's the best way to put it. When I'm working on something, if I gotta stop and talk to you folks, and explain what I'm doing, it's not fair for the customer to pay for that. You know, I mean, they're paying me for efficiency and for my brain, and so they're not paying me to film and be a movie star, which, you know, I mean, I'm not really a movie star. No, these aren't even movies. I'm pretty cool in my own mind. I'm a legend in my own mind. But, I mean, the reality is, you're going to probably see a lot of just driving around on a lot of Maui. And probably more surfing videos. If you catch the end of this video and watch clear to the end, you're going to see some clips in there. You see the old car of what this is going to look like, my car, what it looks like now. And then a video of the picture of the engine with a lava lamp. And then there's a small video in there while the movie's playing of me and my buddy Brian surfing that another friend of ours took a picture of. I think it probably shows Brian better than it does me in the camera because we catch a lot of waves together, and we're always slapping hands or riding close to each other, or teasing each other while we're on waves because we're buddies. That's how South Coast. And so there will be more videos of us surfing. I'm not really sure how I'm going to accomplish it, but some people take pictures from the beach for us, and some people are out there with cameras, and everybody's just filming everybody. And I have this GoPro, and I might figure out how to put that in the water. I mean, is that something you guys want to watch? Is actual surfing? Do you want to see Steph's big brother actually surfing on waves? My favorite waves are when they're between my shoulder and above my head pretty good, like to double my size. The face of it up to that height, double. That's my favorite wave to surf on because it's easier for me to surf a big wave than it is a smaller wave, especially with my board that I had made, my buddy Dave made for me. And yeah, that's kind of the direction this channel is going to go. More car stuff, more variety of things I'm working on. Like today I did a fence, or a gate. There's also the trolley that I'm building in Kaanapali, restoring that, rust repair. And other things I'm working on. Dune buggies and all sorts of things. Scouts, dune buggies, Broncos, Blazers. Oh, speaking of Blazers, I gotta call that guy. Thanks for reminding me. Anyway, I'll see you guys later. Thanks for hanging out.